let's get into the conversation with the ladies. We've been joined by our guests. We're going to be having a conversation this morning. Women in engineering, as we said earlier on. I think for me, one of my biggest takeaways from this, is the simple suggestion of social distancing in the market spaces. I think that is such a critical part of what it is that we need to do, by way of living after COVID-19. I think that some of the things, you see, because we have a difficulty in our culture of personal space, right? Some of these things don't come naturally to us, and I think it's important for us to learn these lessons during this season, and after this season it becomes a part of who we are. And I think that our marketplaces are one of, we started saying this when we were disinfecting the markets. Our marketplaces, everybody goes to the market, everybody gets affected either directly or indirectly from the market. And I think it's important for us to get into that conversation.
I completely agree. And before we speak to these engineers, I think it's important for us to take a look at the current state of our marketplaces, so that when we talk to them, we can put everything into perspective and see how their solutions will transform our market. So we'll take a look at Makola Market.
The president didn't say that. I think I'll take off my marks. We are getting things wrong. The president never said that we have a cure. We shouldn't get things wrong. He didn't say we have a cure. He said, he just lifted the ban, and that is it. That doesn't mean we should jubilate. We don't have the cure yet. So we are still at risk. So we have to be careful.
A clearly irritated and concerned shopper, Nanaya, at the Makola Market.
Should I say the buyers or the other people, the truck pushers, and the other people that works here, aside the sellers, they are just working like nothing is happening. Pushing people, screaming, and you can just imagine. It's terrible. I had an issue right now. You bear me witness. I think you saw me. I was so pissed.
Her concern is similar to that of many other Ghanaians, especially in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic.
Since we haven't learned anything from the coronavirus, I can still see people being close to each other, selling all sorts of things. So I think the government should. I'm not in support of the lifting of the ban. I think this is I've heard the ban. It should continue the done down.
Many have thus adopted various strategies to protect themselves as much as possible.
That's what they say we should do because of the virus. So I'm having my sanitizer in my bag. So as soon as I pay, I use it and clean my hands before I go to the next thing. The next one I want to buy.
Most of the market women I interacted with had their personal hand sanitizers. Some had even contributed and acquired a Veronica bucket to aid hand washing. The market folk seem to have made some efforts in observing the safety protocol. A number of the shops in the market were not opened as at the time of our visit, but there was still heavy vehicular and human traffic. For Daniel, a taxi driver who had tried to protect himself from the virus, he is hopeful that business will pick up soon.
During the morning, some people was coming to their workplace one after the other. But from 9 o'clock going, the work was going on successfully. So I am very, very assured that from tomorrow going, everybody will come to work successfully and everything will be normal like as it was earlier.
Most people commute to and through the markets via public transport, but that too has seen some changes following the outbreak.
Today I've seen that they have been taking us 2 here and then 1. Our normal time we sit here at 3, but today we sit here 2 and 1. If the person doesn't touch me, I'll feel okay. But if the person touch me, then it's good for me too. Because if he touch me, maybe he can give me. I don't know whether I have or he has. So I don't want anybody to touch me. I want us to sit with the social distance. Yeah.
There appears to have been some progress in a change of the attitude of people with regards to this coronavirus pandemic. As per our checks today, a number of people have their own personal sanitizers, and in some cases, their nose mask. But a lot more has to be done in order to win this fight, particularly in the area of social distance, especially in markets like Mokola here in Accra. Reporting for City News, my name is Michael Obodu.
So you see there some of the reactions of people after the lockdown. Some are upset that it seems as if Ghanaians have just gone back to business as usual. But this is the real state of affairs in our market spaces, and I think it's important for us to learn our lessons and begin to make changes and do things differently so that we have better outcomes at the end of the day.
Yeah, and as I was watching that report by our colleague Michael Obodu, I was just paying attention to the background, right? You see someone selling something, even the clothes they have on. You're asking yourself, if this person can't even put on decent, clean clothes, how can I guarantee that the food I'm going to buy from them is clean?
Yeah.
You know, you see that there's absolutely no space between the lady who's speaking and the people who are trying to pass. The market women are all, you know, in spaces that are really tight. And this is a time we're talking about coronavirus. We have heard stories of, for instance, me, I'll go to a specific local market, I'm trying to buy salmon from a woman, and she just steps away for 2 minutes, you know, peace right there, does this with her, like literally wipes the urine from her hands on her clothes, then tries to use that same hand to touch the salmon to give to me. And she thinks there's nothing wrong with what she's doing. You know, even places where these women have to go to attend to nature's call, when you see these places, you will cringe. And sometimes they don't even have places to wash their hands. Yeah. And these are the same people who are going to come touch your tomatoes, touch your peppers, touch all these things for you to take home to eat. And it's to no fault of theirs. There are so many easy, simple things we can all do to make our marketplaces better, because even if you don't have to experience this yourself in our marketplaces, your house boy, your house girl, or your niece would have to experience this, and they're going to bring the same produce from these spaces to your home. I mean, you see some of the tomatoes laid out on some mat on the bare floor. People are walking past it. You know, cars are driving by, splashing dirty water onto these things that we are going to consume and put in our bodies. Right? It's really bad as it stands now because we're dealing with coronavirus, but even before coronavirus, this isn't a dignified way for human beings to live. At all. There's absolutely no reason why in the 21st century we should be happy that our marketplaces look like this. And what I love about these engineers we're going to talk to is that their solutions are commonsensical. It's not complex. It doesn't have any jargons. It's just really simple things that we can all apply, such as ensuring that we have biodegradable baskets, and we have them in abundance in this country. When you go to some rural areas in their markets, you would actually see some of these, you know, our veggies and fruits in our straw baskets. Yes. Why don't we bring that thing back instead of putting them in rice sacks on the floor? You can place them nicely, you know, provide Veronica buckets to shoppers and to market women alike, and educate our market women, because a lot of this has to do with them not knowing that this is dangerous. You know, in other parts of the world, there are people whose job it is to go to spaces and grade them. So if you go to a specific market and they are not complying to all these rules, you can actually grade them whatever grade and close it down. Maybe we should adopt some of these principles, collaborate with FDA, collaborate with GSA to ensure that there's a certain standard of dignity that is applied to our market spaces. So throughout our conversations with them, if you have any questions, let us know with the hashtag BreakfastDaily and the WhatsApp line 0550-585832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Do so, send those messages in and we'll ask them on your behalf.
All right, so let me introduce our guests to you. We have on the line Naki Tete Anoi. She's the Vice President of Women in Engineering Ghana. And then we also have Enyuna Pekpena. She's the President of Women in Engineering Ghana. And then we'll also have the Mayor of Accra, Mohamed Ejay Sowa, also in the conversation. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
We are doing great.
Well, we are very well here. Thank you. We are very well. So, what inspired you? Let me start with that. What inspired you, first of all, to come up with this proposal, which is so beautifully written and easy to read and understand?
First of all, I'd like to say it started from last year when we were at the group. It was actually 20 years.
Okay.
And we picked sanitation as our project.
Okay.
So that's where it started from. And we did a couple of activities. I'm sure my boss would elaborate on them. And then, so based on that, COVID came through, and then we said, okay, then we should apply those things that we wanted to do in the previous project here.
Okay. So, Enyuna, if you can just help us to understand the big vision, what it is that you had as women in engineering for our markets, just for the benefit of our viewers to understand where we're going with this.
Okay, like my vice president mentioned, we have been on a sanitation project since last year, and we have been working with the women from Asaman Kese.
Okay.
And yes, we have been dealing with them regarding issues concerning sanitation. And based on that, during the lockdown period, we realized that our markets, the situation in our markets are not good at all. When we go to the markets, we realize that there is no social distance. In fact, it's really difficult for the market women to practice the social distancing policy. And you realize that they are also not wearing masks. In fact, all the measures we are talking about is difficult for the women to practice.
Yeah.
So we started out when we did some study, and we went around some of the markets, and we realized that we needed to address certain specific things, including hygiene, including hygiene, the infrastructure as well, the food safety as well, and then the places of convenience. So we came up with short-term measures as well as long-term measures.
Okay.
To address the current situation, and then look beyond the current situation to see how best we can make our markets profitable, our markets a place where we can go. You know, the markets we go there to go and refuel all that we need in the house. Every one of us, whatever we take into our bodies is coming from the markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is where we are coming from.
Okay.
We are saying that the situation in the market is not good, and all of us must come on board so that we can address the situation and we can all remain healthy and we'll have long life as well.
Okay, and can you help us touch on some of the problems you identified? I'm seeing here sanitation, places of convenience, and food hygiene. What drove you to pay particular attention to these problems, and what are your proposed solutions to them?
Okay, regarding food hygiene, our market, you bear with me that our markets are most of the time the foodstuff is placed on the floor or on the tables. But I was looking at the market and I realized that the fruits that we eat, most of them are on the floor. Plantain is on the floor. Everything is sold from the floor. And that is not good in terms of hygiene. It's not good at all. When food is transported to the market, some of them, the way they even come into the market, we don't even know whether Food and Drugs Board has even looked at the food to certify that it's good for consumption. And all this food enter our system. We go there, we buy it from the floor. So we proposed getting baskets for these foods to be stored in them and educating our women to understand that selling food on the floor is not hygienic. From the floor is not hygienic. And to also tell the consumers that don't buy food from the floor that is sold from the floor. When we do that, we believe that there will be a transformation, there will be a change. So that is where we're coming from. Food hygiene, that is where we're coming from. In terms of infrastructure, even the markets that are well designed and are state of the art, we realize that maintenance is simply not there. Yes, it's poor. So as part of the long-term solutions, we have put in a technical advisory group that is looking at the infrastructure in our markets and is going to work with the ministries to ensure that we come up with a decent design for our markets in the long term. And then we also mentioned the places of convenience. When you take a market like Malamata Market, we have over 500 traders there, and the toilet facilities are just three main toilet facilities. Looking at the number of people, consumers who visit that market, we realize that this is simply not adequate. And also they are not maintained well.
Okay, so let me bring in Mohammed J. Sowa. He's the Accra Mayor. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you, and good morning to your wonderful guests who we are engaging via Zoom this morning.
Yes. Now you've heard some of the conversations that are going on and the proposals that they are making. Looking at the markets that you oversee, what are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much for having me. And these are awesome ladies who are very familiar with our markets because they've spent some time at the market and they are spot on the concerns that they are bringing to the attention of the viewers and the steps that. But the fundamental issue that must be addressed by the state, the city authority, it's to reconstruct these markets. The infrastructure there, it's weak, and you are unable to organize the market in a manner that anybody else who visit there would say that could be equated to any decent market that you see. If you come to Agbogbloshie, you go to Malata, CMB, and you must appreciate the fact that our economy in Accra is largely informal, and therefore it contributes to the disorganization in the market. So for me, all the issues that we are talking about, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, it's on the infrastructure. If the infrastructure is not there, it will be difficult, and that's why we as a city authority and the state must be aggressive in the reconstruction of the market. This thing didn't start yesterday. It didn't start a couple of days ago. It's been there all this while, but we need to be able to reconstruct our market, and then we can be able to reorganize the market in a manner that all of us will be happy about it.
Okay.
So I want to bring in the ladies here. Let me talk to Enyonam. Your suggestion about satellite markets. Let's give the mayor your suggestion of how you think it would work, because it definitely making reference to what he's suggesting about building new markets in a new way. Hello, Enyonam?
Okay, Naki, are you there?
Sorry.
Naki,
yeah, okay. Yes, I'm okay.
Okay, either one of you can take that question.
All right. Naki, do you want to take it?
Okay, on the satellite market, I think we suggesting that we should try and decentralize the market. Growing up, I grew up in the barracks where each barracks had a market, and it took me a long time to know where Makola is, because then I didn't need to go to Makola for anything. And so if we still have those small markets and we can develop them, then people don't need to travel and congregate at the main market. Because if I live in Adenta, I should be able to go to Adenta market and get all that I want. If it's prices are generally fair, instead of moving to Medina market where it's crowded and there's no space for the traders, then I'm sure when these satellite markets are developed, these traders will move to these markets and then there'll be enough space. I think the major issue is space, and then there'll be enough space for everybody to sell. Then we should make the public aware that when you travel that far to, let's say, Makola to buy, you are buying your time and everything, if you quantify them as money. So the difference in pricing, let's say if I'm buying something from Medina for 1 cedi and I'm buying it from Accra Central for 1 cedi 50 pesos, really, you haven't really done anything by traveling all the way there to buy. And if we are able to develop these satellite markets, then it means that congestion at the main markets will reduce. We could have the spaces that we are actually advocating for, that between each trader there should be some few meters to avoid crowding and avoid transmission and all that. So that's one of the things that we were looking at. Satellite markets has to be developed. I know they are there, but they are people don't patronize them because they think that things are expensive in that space.
Okay.
But then if you make it attractive, and make instead of all the traders moving to, let's say, Agbogloshi to sell their tomatoes, some can bring their wares to Kaneshi, come and bring to Odoko instead of going all the way to Agbogloshi. Then people can patronize in those areas.
Thank you very much, Naki. So,
as the mayor has said, redevelopment of these markets is essential.
Thank you. So I want to bring the mayor in now. We've heard from the engineers. We already know what the problems are now. They're giving us a solution. How do we begin to implement these solutions? Where do we even start from?
Well, I think that we just have to mobilize resources and prioritize the redevelopment of our markets as a major economic pole in the city. I share the comments made by the beautiful ladies, but as I said earlier, it all depends on availability of resources. For instance, you are really aware, as far back as 25 years ago, and there was an attempt to relocate the bulk breaking activity in Agbogloshi. And then by 2006, 2007, there was a market development at Ajin Kotoku, so that all the foodstuffs from the hinterland, from Burkina Faso, the north, coming down, will not come straight into the city center for bulk breaking. There should be a center on the periphery of the city so that you can do the bulk breaking. Unfortunately, there was confusion left, right, center. Although the market started, it's a huge plot of land. And then by 2008, as government exited And unfortunately, this whole idea was abandoned. As I speak to you now, 95% of that land has been encroached upon by private developers.
Yes, Mayor, so for the sake of time, and I know our viewers are really waiting to hear the answer of how we can take this from a proposal to something that we will experience in real life. So if you can touch on exactly what your office will do to make it happen, we'll really appreciate it. We have just 1 minute left.
I've just told you that I share the comments, and the redevelopment of the market must be prioritized by all of us, and that is the way to go. And the infrastructure, because all the things that we are talking about, if we don't develop the infrastructure to accommodate all these good ideas, to be a challenge for us, and that's what we are prioritizing. We started something from Mokola 31st. We are hoping to extend it, but it requires huge investment.
Okay, what would it take to get that investment?
Well, I must admit that I don't have the resources for the 2020 to promise that we're going to redevelop all the markets in Accra. I don't have, but it's something which is in the plan, and we should keep talking about it and to be able to. In fact, just yesterday, as a way of decongesting, and we moved out the bulk breaking activity of tomato sellers to Arts Center. So
Nice.
Bulk breaking from Agbeblushin, CMB, Accra Way, to do all these areas, because there's no space there at all. As a matter of, and this is a temporary arrangement, because Arts Park, it's also a location earmarked for the Marine Drive project, but because of observance of the social distancing within this COVID-19 period, they've granted us that space so that we'll be able to decongest all these things. But once we are able to redevelop those markets, then we can have space and organize the market in a more decent way.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mohammed Ejaisoa, for joining us, and of course our engineers as well.
Engineers Naki Tete Anori, thank you very much, and then to you, Dr. Enyonam Pepena, thank you as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for watching this segment of the show and sending your messages through. We appreciate it very much.